Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Managing Partners Podcast. I'm Kevin Daisey, and I'm your host, also the founder of Array Digital. We help law firms grow through SEO content. Today, I have an awesome guest coming out of his cabin. This is John Groth, and actually, I'm in my Airbnb, so we're making this unique today. We're both coming from you from
Working remote.
afar, working remote.
Working remote. Yeah.
So, John, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Excited to to hear what you have to share. We've already got to chat a little bit about some of the cool things that you're doing. So let's just jump right into it. Tell me a little bit about yourself personally, where you're located, where you're coming from, and then we'll get into some details about your firm and what you do.
Great. Yeah. So John Groth, I am a personal injury attorney in Wisconsin. I have offices in the Milwaukee area, and then we have offices in other parts of the state. If you know Wisconsin, well, that's Wisconsin. Milwaukee's down here, Green Bay's here. Right now, I'm up there. We're more kind of up there, but we're across the state. I have attorneys that have handled cases and tried cases in many of the 72 counties of Wisconsin. So that's our personal injury practice, our single event practice. We also have a unique practice where we have full-time staff and attorneys that do vaccine law. So not COVID vaccine law, that this has been around since the 1980s. It's like flu vaccine law. And that's, not just Wisconsin, it's, the world, it's international. We have clients that are in, I think the last one that we had, or the furthest one away, was like Siberia. Because you can get a flu vaccine at any Air Force base, military base, and if you have certain symptoms, you meet the elements, and you're on the table, then you can get compensation from this fund that's been around since the 1980s. So that's our other kind of unique practice that we have.
Well, just to piggyback off that in a second. First off, everyone tuning in, listening, check John out. His law firm website address is right below if you're watching on the video. If you're not, it's grothlawfirm.com, but that's spelled Groth lawfirm.com. Check him out. Nice website. You can see what he's up to. Connect with him. Maybe there's some referral opportunities. But go check him out, see what he's up to. So, John, for the vaccine law, you said, not COVID, but did COVID have an impact on that? Do you even work on stuff for that, or is it completely separate?
Man, you want to talk about interviews? We were contacted by every single media outlet in the area, it seemed, to talk about if you're injured because of a COVID vaccine, or what's going to happen if that happens, or if the worst case scenario happens and you're injured because of the vaccine. And right now there's immunity, I'll call it, that you're not able to get compensation, or if you do get compensation, it's very difficult. It's very unlike the vaccine injury compensation program for flu vaccines. So my educated guess is that in the future, at some point, they're going to take it off of that immunity, and they're going to put it into the rest of the cases for the vaccine injury compensation program, and you will be able to get a compensation in I'll call it an easier manner. But right now, there's not much you can do with any kind of COVID vaccine. So we certainly got a lot more calls, and I think there are a lot more cases because people also got more flu vaccines. Just in general, there are more vaccines administered. So that there's a higher likelihood that they're going to get injured because just the numbers work out that way. So that's why I think there was a blip in our numbers, and I think we'll see additional cases as the years go by. Yeah.
And I can see why you get an influx of calls and interviews and questions, because that's the first thing people think in vaccine these days is COVID. So
yep. Yeah, exactly.
Really cool. All right. So I want to dive a little bit more to your firm itself. So personal injury, but give me some idea, like what do you really focus on? The vaccine thing is unique. So I haven't had, I don't think anyone out of 300 attorneys that have been on the show that have mentioned that specifically. But for your main focus, you practice in the state there. What is your bread and butter?
Bread and butter. Well, it's uh, just like all the TV advertisers, right? It's single event, car crash. Um, if you ever watched that movie, that a civil action with John Travolta, where he's walking down at the beginning of the case, or at the beginning of the movie, and talking about the best case. I mean, that's our world. It's somebody who was hit by a UPS truck, or somebody who was hit by an Uber driver last night. I mean, this is the craziest. We're talking about Instagram and videos and audio, and we have our phones taking pictures of ourselves and all that this morning. Well, last night I got a call from a young woman who was a passenger in an Uber vehicle, and she told the Uber driver to just stop moving, because he was on his phone and trying to figure out where to go with the phone like this, and then ran off the road and down and crashed the car. So those kind of cases, we're getting a lot of those cases where it's Ubers, Lyfts, things like that, or passengers in Ubers and Lyfts. And then I don't know if you've heard about Milwaukee has a rash of car thefts. I think we're at 900 maybe this year. It's just crazy that these gangs of people who are stealing. I think they're mostly kids, but they're stealing Kias and Hyundais. I bet you we get maybe one a week. That somebody who has property damage or is injured because one of the Kia boys, they're called, is driving a vehicle and ram into somebody else. So,
Wow.
so that kind of stuff.
Can they go with a better brand, or that's
I don't know why it's Kia. It's and
maybe
my
they figured
dad.
out a security issue or something that's easy for them to be started or unlocked. I don't know.
Well, that's it's you can take a hammer, you smash the console, and I guess it's as easy as just putting two, kind of like MacGyver, right? You put two wires together and you're done. My dad was talking. He was a race car driver. He was a Milwaukee fireman and then a race car driver just in his spare time and that kind of stuff. And he said back in the 50s, it was harder to steal a car than it is, stealing a Kia in 2023. I mean, that's crazy. So somebody in the engineering department over at Kia messed up.
Oh gosh. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, I would think you get those kinds of cases there. That's interesting. Okay, so and you're right now your license you focus on your state. That's it. What? Well, I want to kind of get into what's the size of your firm, what's the structure of that look like, and what's some of the maybe growth plans you have. What's
Sure.
next year look like? What are you focused on right now?
Well, we changed our LinkedIn logo, I think, this year to always hiring. So now we are always hiring. So we're interviewing now a couple of different lawyers. We're at 5 lawyers. Our goal is to be 6, 7-ish in the next few months to year. We have about 30 staff. We have an intake department that's full-time intake, consisting of about 6 people. And then we have case managers and paralegals for the next stage, attorneys who oversee them, and then a litigation department, and then attorneys that just do that, and then litigation paralegals that only do litigation. We also have our accounting department and then our marketing department. And we hired a full-time videographer to not only document like the internal processes of the firm, but also all the other stuff, right? I mean, that's the world we live in. So the Instagramification of law firms. So to help us to get better at having a social media presence. So that's kind of, those are the different departments we have at the firm.
No, I love that. That's awesome. I mean, at your size and having kind of those things all separated. And I think the videographer, and I think the one thing that you mentioned, which is huge, especially for smaller law firms out there, is that the videographer is documenting internal processes, not just making content for the for the public. So
Yeah.
I think that's huge and that's important. Right now, I'm in a stage, we're about a year and a half in almost of process documentation. and videotizing a lot of it is definitely something that we're working on. So that could be huge.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. I like that a lot.
Well,
And marketing too. Obviously we're a marketing company and we're with
yeah.
with firms. And I think either we have firms that have no marketing people or a department or anything going on, or the bigger ones will have at least a marketing director or some person that mostly coordinates. But to have like a carved out effort or committee is important. Marketing is huge, and you can't rely on an agency or someone to just do everything. You got to have those specialties and have an overall strategy, right? So,
Well, with anybody outside of your four walls, you have to trust but verify. So you have to know what they're
Ronald
doing
Reagan.
and understand, so you can set those KPIs and know that, okay, did this lead come in from Kevin, or did this lead come in from a blog that I wrote in 2004 or whatever, right? So those kind of things. So it's important to do that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. And having that clarity and visibility is really important. And I see all the time that's missing a lot. I met with a firm yesterday, actually in person, which is unusual because our clients are national, but they happen to be pretty close, and so they have no clue about where anything comes from, basically, unless it's a referral from partners or attorneys.
Yeah.
And so and this is a $10 million firm, so and they're spending money in lots of areas. They just don't know what does what. They check a box. Oh, we're paying for this, we're paying for that. And they're like, I don't know what comes from any of this stuff. And I'm like, well, your website's not SEO'd and it wouldn't rank for nothing, and it doesn't. So it's not coming from that. but they're paying for that. So it's interesting to see how many folks out there don't have an idea and they don't have visibility on it.
I think my parents raised me differently. I'm more of a penny pincher, where I need to know where the pennies are going. And I think my staff would say I'm micromanaging that way, that every day I'm looking at what our metrics are. How many cases did we sign? What lead sources? I mean, this month we have more cases from our website. It just seems odd. So I'm wondering if our call rail is set up, because we have call rail and lead docket that are intertwined.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if something got changed, or some wire got swapped or something, that maybe our LSA ads are showing that they're actually website leads. Those kind of things bug me. So I want to know what the answer is.
Like, we didn't change anything, but there's an influx or a decrease. Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
And it's good to have those numbers at your fingertips. And and are you part of any mastermind groups?
I am.
I'm just calling that broadly. I know they're not necessarily, but like consulting groups or mastermind groups.
Yeah, I'll say yes, because I'm a member of a bunch of different groups. So
Okay.
I've gone to a bunch of different conferences, like the CRISP conference was fantastic. I did not join up with their program. I went to the Ali Awad CEO Lawyer Conference. I did sign up with that program this year, the Pro program, I think he calls it.
Nice.
So I guess I'd call that a mastermind to some extent. I've had Mickey Love and CJ. I think they're calling it Accelerator. Mickey flew out to our firm last year and met with everybody and gave us some advice. And I've been a member of PILMA for years upon years upon years. So the answer is yes. And I also obsess over podcasts. Like on the way up here yesterday, I must have listened to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing with Guy Tsekalakis and Conrad Sam. I listen to that all the time. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. Probably to my detriment, I need to stop listening to him, because I find myself swearing more than I ever did in the past, and I blame him 100%. And then
I just
there's
had kids to take care of that one.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And then Maximum Lawyer. I've been listening to Maximum Lawyer for years.
Excellent. Well, everyone listening, I hope you're writing all this down, because those are all great sources. And PILMA, I'm really familiar with. Ken Hardison was actually on this show recently. Has a group program over there too.
Yeah.
I'll also plug How to Manage a Small Law Firm, HTM as we call it.
Okay.
We have a lot of clients that are members of that group, and I've only seen good things. Atticus Advantage is another one who I'm
Sure.
just getting familiar with now. But I guess the point is, get out there, learn, go to things, join groups. You don't have to go this alone. There's plenty of resources out there when you start looking. And I think what I've seen, John, is like your numbers, your metrics, and you track that stuff. And I see 90% of the people that I interact with, mostly our clients when we sign with them, don't have a clue about any of that stuff, and they don't know what's being done, and it's ridiculous actually to see. And sometimes they're spending $5-10 grand a month to a agency or fine laws of the world, and they don't have a clue what's going on, where it's being spent, if it's even helping. And it's just I would hope I'd never get away with that. But my point being, if we have a HTM member or Atticus member client, they have all that information. They know their numbers, their revenue, their sales goals, their client value, and all that stuff. And I ask clients that before they become clients. I need to know all this information. And the ones that pause and go, I don't have that available, versus the ones that just pop it off the top of their heads. I'm like, are you in this group or this group? And they're like, yeah. So it's they're being trained, they're being prepared. And so like John has done, get out there and learn from others that have done this right. Your business, your law firm should be run like a business.
It's a business. Yep, I agree.
And you can help more people if you can grow and reach more people. And you're doing great service by being an attorney, helping them in their situation. So why not grow and help more people? So, it's not a greed thing. It's, got to be scaling and growing, and your employees, right, John? I mean, I want my employees to have opportunity. And if I stay stagnant, they can't grow. I can't pay them more. I can't give them opportunities. They can't manage people. So keep that in mind too.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. There's lots of options out there. And sometimes it gets really overwhelming because you don't know which one's the best. And I don't think any of them are the best. I think they're all really good. And you have to be able to understand yourself as to what kind of a learner you are and what kind of program you need in order to get to that next level. And yeah, it could be, I know Atticus, I was at one of their conferences with Craig Goldenfarb and those guys. And Craig Goldenfarb has his, seven-figure lawyer, and then there's the 8-figure lawyer and all these things too. Yep. And it depends on whether you're ready and able to give the amount of time that they will demand to make you better. So that's a real, something you have to look at yourself to see what you can give to work on your business as opposed to the time that you need to work in your business.
Yeah, and there's a lot out there, and maybe it's overwhelming, but choose something. If you hear good things, and don't spend too much time trying to pick the perfect group. And they're investments, right? Time and money.
Yeah.
I've been in some great masterminds that have been gold mines because you just take away one good thing. And I think that's the other thing too, is if you go to something, take a bunch of notes and then pick one thing that you're going to implement. You're not going to be able to do it all. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And I've done this in the past. And I got like 20 pages of notes. I'll get to that later. And then, on the plane, you'd be like, hey, I'm going to do this one as soon as I get back. And then if you throw the book aside, at least, that was worth the whole trip.
Yeah.
Ken Hardison said this on my episode with him. He's like, be the 10%. The 10% of people that will actually go home from this PILMA event and take action and do something. So basically meaning 90% of people don't.
Yeah. So. Oh, that was years ago. There was John Fisher, it is the, what's his, I have a link on the phone to him.
What's his book?
Systems. So I look at John's face every single, if you can see it, every single day because he's right there on my phone. Years ago, he said that, he I think someone asked him, why do you give all your stuff away? All your information, all your systems away. And he said, because I know not everybody's going to take me up on actually using this, using the information. So I'll leave it out there If you take it, great, but I know you're not going to, because that's just the human condition. So, those kind of things, if you can implement it, if you can just start and, um, well, start today. Like I said before, what's the best time to plant a tree? Well, the best time was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. If you can start now and do something, you're going to make a difference in your practice and make a difference in your life.
Yeah, and that's a good good thing about the content, and that's something that we're currently doing too. Is everyone's always afraid of giving people the answers because they're like, well, then they won't hire me. And that's completely opposite. It's, I can tell you right now how to fix everything on your website for SEO, right? I can do that with you, right? If there any, I don't know if there's anything wrong with it. I'm just making this up, but
Yeah.
I've
Yep.
bet $100 I can find something, and I can just tell you. And you don't need to hire me to do that. You can use your in-house person. You can use your current thing, but so I shouldn't be scared to tell you that. And then if you really need my assistance and you can afford us, then you can hire us, and that's fine. But you got to give and put the best content, give the best stuff out there, which is something that they can take and do themselves. Hopefully, they just don't have time to do it themselves, and they can afford to
Yeah.
hire you. Give them the best content possible. Give it away for free.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I
in the
agree.
lawyer space, of course, you give tips for, how to document an accident or whatever. They're still need a lawyer. They're not going to be able to do it themselves. And if they do or try to, then I guess, good luck. But put the best content you have out there for free, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of our older lawyers said that he was asked recently about pro bono work, and he said my what I wanted to say, my snotty response was going to be, I give pro bono every single day since 1980 whatever, when he first graduated from law school, because there's all these free consultations. Somebody calls, or your uncle calls, or your aunt calls, or somebody just walks in and they ask a question, and you just have to give. I mean, that's part of our I don't know, it's the code or just the way that we are, is that we have to be able to be willing to give some of our knowledge,
Free
uh,
consultation or
free consultations, because that if you do that, eventually somebody's going to really need you, and then they're going to come and say, oh yeah, there was that nice guy and I want to hire him. Yep.
Yeah. You have to help people, and I think that's just part of business and doing the right things. You got to give back. So one of the things you mentioned earlier, I believe, when we were backstage, contingency.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that back up so you can explain how you guys operate with that.
Yeah. Contingency fees. So yes, simply you don't get paid unless there's a recovery for the victim. There's talk now with other lawyers about DUIs or criminal, those kind of things, with flat fees, and flat fees versus contingency is very different. I get a call, or I talk to people at least once or twice a week, where they're asking what's the retainer, and we actually, this is a good point, we actually stopped saying that we're going to have a client sign a new client retainer, because everybody thinks retainer that I'm paying money. So now we've talked to our intake staff that it's an agreement, that you're going to sign an agreement that's a contingency fee agreement that says we only get paid if there's a recovery for you. And I think that's an important difference that you have to make with clients, and certainly with our clients, because people have this mindset that I have to pay $5,000 because if I or even $500, if you get a traffic ticket, you may have to pay your traffic lawyer $500 to go and fight that ticket for you, but you got to pay it up front. With us, it's a contingency fee. So you sign an agreement that at the end of the case, we get paid a contingency or a portion of the claim as our fee. And then I always say we're aligned in the interest of getting as much money as we can for you. So the more you get, the more we get. So I'm going to fight for every penny because I want those 33 cents.
That makes, I like that. So, I mean, in your marketing on your website and all that, because let's just say someone finds you, they don't have a referral, they find you online or via search, and they're looking at 3 different firms, let's just say.
Yep.
that would be a big to be clear that I don't have a fee up front would probably be part of my decision process in that first reach out. Like, hey, I saw you don't charge fees or whatever. Like making that clear and they can understand that. I think would be huge.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's certainly with the billboard lawyers that I see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of one that I saw recently where, um, you know, it's free until we win, or something along those lines, where they're trying to get that out there that in essence it's a it's a no risk situation, and I think the clearer you can be with that, the better. I think I pay more attention to billboards than probably anybody else does, or many of the personal injury lawyers do, just because we're just wired that way. But I think if you're involved in a crash, you don't know what that billboard means until you're in that situation. Like, oh heck, and now I need somebody. And your initial thought is lawyers are expensive. So if you can get that across in a easy way to understand, I think that's really important. And words mean things, and it matters how you describe things. So when you're talking about retainers, that's a big difference, because somebody who's just involved in a crash and they're stressed out or whatever, they're thinking retainer. Maybe their last experience was paying for a will, and that retainer was $500, so they don't want to have to pay up front. So then if you start saying agreement, it's different because it's a contingency fee, no risk and those kind of things. And hopefully it alleviates that stress. And that's my job from the first minute you call me, is to alleviate stress. So I can
they could be in financial situation. They just lost their car, probably just
and who do I talk to? Who do I talk to? Who do I call? I can tell you stories about doctors who call people on the day of the crash to get them in. And when you have a doctor calling you to get in for care, and you have the insurance company investigators and the cops, it's like, well, what the heck do I do? Who's the right person to talk to? That can really make your head spin.
Well, so I think a big takeaway here is for any attorney listening is what's your differentiator, and is it clear to the person that might engage with your firm? Is it enough differentiator, right? Like obviously you're like, we're the best, or we're there's all kinds of, you can't say you're the best, but whatever it is, a lot of the messages are very similar. And I don't see, I think I have clients, and we have a lot of people I know that are contingency based, but I'm thinking in my head, like, I don't feel like that's it's not conveyed clearly that that's the case. Which I think would be huge. But I do think, I just thought of one client that we have that has done this pretty well, and they're in Michigan, injury attorneys, and it's Matt's, MATZ, Injury Law. I just put it on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
But their website is 22not33.com.
Oh, yeah.
If you're on audio, 22not33.com. It clearly, if you go to the website, their fee is only 22%, not 33%, like standard across the board. And so that's their whole marketing ploy is they charge a lot less. So, if you get a $100,000 settlement, they're only taking 22,000 of that versus 33,000 of that. And so I'm not saying everyone on this listening should do that, but they made a very big statement, and it's the first thing on their website, and that's their web address. So
and that makes sense, because if I'm going to refer them a case, or let's say if somebody refers me a case, my net fee is probably only going to be 22%, because I would split that fee with the referring attorney, 1/3 to that attorney, and then 2/3 to me. So I can understand the math as a managing partner. I understand why they came up with that 22%, because they're going to get that as their net fee from any referral source. So why not advertise that to the general public? And then hopefully they'll get more cases. Interesting.
Sure. Yeah. So they good clients of ours, and they're in Michigan, focused on all the state except Detroit. I guess because of, I forgot what are reasons, but so there's a lot of heavy hitters there, and there's some different types of laws that make it difficult. So, but anyway, so I guess the takeaway here is craft a message. What's unique about your firm? that you can share with everyone out there. I've had divorce attorneys on here that they only work with women, and it's a full women firm, and that's their niche, and they can share that very easily because of that.
Yeah.
And then, but I see a lot of firms that just they kind of blend in with the wallpaper, right? So they look like every firm, and they don't stand out. So
Yep, I understand. It's well, and that goes with everything to, what's your picture on your LSA, or what pictures do you have on your GBP, or things like that make you identify. I mean, I'm wearing flannel. I mean, in Wisconsin, it's pretty common to be walking, out of the Quick Trip. I have my Quick Trip orange juice, wearing your flannel. That's a very Wisconsin-ish kind of thing. It's certainly. That's just who I am. So if you can be genuine and be true to yourself, people are going to see that, and they'll hopefully identify with you and say, "Oh yeah, that's a lawyer that I think I can trust." Hopefully it
I have
works.
a few of my SEO experts that are on my team that are in Wisconsin.
Oh really?
And
Okay.
insane hockey players. I got this one young man that works for me. He's had double hip replacement surgery at 21 years old. So
Oh, oh,
yeah,
One of
big
our
into
staff,
hockey.
he's an assistant coach for the local high school hockey team. So yeah, it's not as big as Minnesota, but it's pretty big in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, John, I appreciate you sharing. I mean, everything you're doing and what you're up to, and some of the uniquenesses of what you're doing. How serious you take marketing and metrics, and you got some great growth plans. I mean, to add a few attorneys in this year, that's huge. So it looks like you're doing a lot of right things. You're going out, you're learning, you're applying things. What would be, to a young attorney out there listening that's like, oh, maybe I'll start my own firm one day, or maybe they're in the middle of it, or maybe they just did.
Mm-hmm.
Even scarier, right? What's some advice you would send their way?
The number one thing I would say is that don't be afraid to ask for help. People love to help others. And if you don't find somebody who is willing to help you, that's the wrong person. Find somebody else. There's so many people that when I started my firm in 2010, I graduated law school in 2000, worked for other firms until 2010. And when I started and took the plunge, there were a couple people that I really relied upon and have been really good mentors and really good people, just in general for the past 13 years. So if you can find some people, a good support base, that's the best thing for you. And don't be afraid to ask them just about anything, really, right? Like, how much paper should I order? Just stupid things like that. I remember, just being stressed out, like, well, should I go to the store and buy this on discount, or get that, or get this? Those kind of things are questions that you shouldn't be stewing over because somebody's already answered them. So make sure you get some people that you can rely upon.
I love that, and 100%. And that's been my experience in business as well. And got lots of people that I can talk to or trust. And that's why I think also, you might not be able to go home and talk to your husband or wife because they don't own a business. You do, and that can be lonely there sometimes. But that's why these masterminds or groups that you can huddle up with people that are experiencing the similar things, and you can actually have a conversation about it and get some answers for it.
Yeah.
I just read a book recently. It's I'm trying to remember the name of it. I think it's like Detox, Declutter, and something.
Yeah, I think I saw that on somebody's book list. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
What's the last part? It's hold on, I think I have it in my
Google machine out. Yeah.
Google would know for sure. Detox, declutter, dominate. Right. Yeah. So, and one of the things I took away from that, which I'm in the process of doing, by the way, but another takeaway for everybody is take a sheet of paper and put columns on it, and at the top put $10 an hour work, and then put $100 per hour work, $1,000 per hour worked, and then 10,000 per hour work. And just write down the crap you do every day, like order paper, right? In your instance, in the beginning, right? You're probably, when you're starting out, you're doing everything, but at least document, okay, what is $10 an hour work versus $100 an hour work? And if you're an attorney, $100 an hour work is still too low for you to be doing. But 1,000 and 10,000, how do you just make sure at least you're doing a few hours of those buckets per day? And 10,000 hour work, 10,000 hour work might be this podcast. It might be talking to a high value client or speaking on stage. It's big stuff. So, what are you doing throughout your day, and what can you delegate out? You can get a VA, an assistant, an intern. Where's your time being spent, and make sure you're focusing on the right things. So,
that's
something I'm doing right
fantastic. I will download that book and listen to it on the way home today.
It's a really short book. I was flying back from Scottsdale, Arizona, from a mastermind type of private thing with Brandon Dawson, and I listened to it on the flight from Arizona to Virginia, which was, it was a full day maybe, but it's a pretty easy listen.
Yeah, well, that's good advice. Good stuff.
That's my one tip on this episode. Other than talk with John, meet with John, connect with John. Here's his website again down at the bottom. It's growthlawfirm.com. That's GROTH. John, is there anyone else or any other way that you'd like for people to reach out and connect and chat with you if they want?
Yeah, you can go certainly go to our Instagram. You can go to TikTok and watch our goofy Groth Paw Firm videos we have about all the dog lovers in our firm and what we do there. We try to make things light on Fridays. But TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. All those we try to get some information out there for others to really understand the process and be helpful. So, that would be great. If you can like us, I'd really appreciate it.
Is that can we get that off your website? Is it linked off there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so go to the website. I guess that's the easiest, and he has links to those different platforms from there. I will definitely make sure I connect and follow you on all those platforms.
Thank you.
After this recording, and that's it. Anything else you want to add?
No, thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Yeah, no. Thank you for just sharing so much value, and just a lot of good takeaways here for everyone to listen to it again and see what John has to say. We'll be sharing a lot of this content as well, and so we get more of John coming to your inbox and on our social medias to check out this episode and more. We have, last I checked, about 246 live on our website, YouTube, LinkedIn, all over the place. This is array.com/podcast. John's episode will be, they usually get live within a few weeks of recording. And then you need help and any questions about marketing, SEO, websites, even if you want me to take a look and see where you're going, what you can fix, I'm happy to give you free advice, free information, just happy for the chat. So if you need help like that, reach out to me, let me know. And also you can connect with me on any social platforms as well. Just Kevin Daisey, Daisey, and happy to talk to you. So, right. John.
Awesome.
You stick on with me. We'll chat backstage. Everyone else, have an amazing day. Get out there, grow your law firms, and all the best.
Thank you.